Okay, so we are on the back of 36A, and if you look at it, it says to draw these with a straight edge, so a ruler, and these are a little bit harder, okay? It tells you that OQ is a median and an altitude of triangle POM. That's a little bit harder. Now, O is part of the triangle, Q is an extra point. But guys, a median means it's a midpoint, and an altitude means it has to make a 90-degree angle, and it's the same line. So please draw a triangle that looks isosceles. I'm going to mark it isosceles because that's how it would be both. So draw a triangle that looks isosceles. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go from this point down to the midpoint. And I'm going to mark this 2 pieces equal. And I'm going to sketch this. Now, this is a midpoint. That's why it's a median. But it also creates a 90-degree angle. And that's why it's an altitude. So in order to do this, it had to be an isosceles or equilateral triangle. So that was the trick to that one, an isosceles or equilateral triangle. It's the only way that's going to work. Okay, now, I thought, when I first looked at this, there was a typo here. It says KT is an altitude of triangle KLM. Okay, I've got that. K is part of the triangle, T is not. And this is where I got really confused. I got really confused because it says L, which is on the triangle, is between T and M. Okay. That's confusing because normally, and I needed to name this triangle. I'm sorry, go back up here. This is P, O, and M. And O has to be the vertex because this is O to Q. Sorry. So when I labeled this, it was important that O was here and it connected to Q. So O had to be the vertex. All right, so this is why I was confused. It says here that L, which is part of the triangle, is between T and M. So typically the point you put in as a median or an altitude is between the 2 segments. So then I got to thinking, this number 12 has to be like this one, where the altitude's on the outside. Okay, so this definitely is a bit of a challenge. So if I draw this triangle, make K the obtuse angle. So draw this triangle and make one angle obtuse, meaning greater than 90 degrees. So here's K, and I'll name this LM. Now, it says L is between T and M. Okay, so here's the point. The altitude is K. Oh, I made that wrong. Ignore me. Don't make K your altitude. Don't make K your big point. Make K on the side. I'm sorry, guys. It's not going to work because if I did an altitude, K would go right to here. I need it to be an exterior. So make K out here. All right, so let's go from K, and it says L is between T and M. Okay, so if you go to extend this, I'm gonna have to rearrange my triangle. So let me just get rid of all this, no matter what I do. So I'm gonna have to rework this. So K to T, if I draw this line here to connect over and make it 90 degrees, wouldn't it be out here like this? All right, so I'm going to come back. I'm going to highlight this. Definitely not my best work while we're doing it together. That is my altitude. Okay, so it goes from K to T. So this is T, and that's why I had to rearrange this. It says L should be between T and M. So L is this corner and M is that corner. I think I tried to label my triangle too soon. So K to T is my altitude, and L had between T and M. That was really a hard one. So that's why I want to do it together. Okay, I'm going to have you guys work on the next 2. One is an angle bisector, so pay attention to the labeling. And one is you have a median and a perpendicular bisector. So you're going to work on 13, 14, and then these front 4 that we didn't do yet. Okay, so we're going to come back and do our altitude. So whenever you do an altitude, it goes from vertex to opposite side. Now this one looks like an equilateral triangle, so everything sort of cuts in the middle. And then I should see a 90-degree angle there. Do you have that? All right, go from vertex to opposite side. And, you know, this is what you're trying to do. Maybe use your straight edge. Take your vertex, then I'm going to use this longer tick mark and try to make it look 90 degrees with my triangle. That's one way to help yourself. And then I go from this vertex, and again, I want to maybe line up my tick mark so it sort of lines right up, and then that will give me the best 90-degree angle estimate that I can get. And they should meet if we did it right in one point. Okay, now I know this got cut off. This should have a little tip there, and it should be D. The idea, and I think it got some of you, is this is an altitude from here to here. If you go right down this side, that makes a 90-degree angle, okay? And if you go from F and you try to connect it to the opposite side, it also makes, so when you have a right triangle, your altitudes are these two sides. But you do have one more altitude, and it goes from this point, and then just make your best 90-degree estimate you can. So it'd be right about here. Does that help? I think some of you are making them harder. You're putting them outside. Okay, now look at your medians. So all of these should be shown with the 90 degrees, okay? Now look at your medians. Medians are midpoint. So if I go from A to the midpoint, I should see tick marks. Do you have tick marks on your triangle? And then go ahead and connect it. So that's how you're telling me it's a midpoint. Go from B to the midpoint. So I'm using 2 marks to show that these two sides are congruent, and drop it. So median goes from vertex to opposite midpoint, and cut that up. And there you go. And there's that point where they all connect. So medians are shown with splitting each side in half. Now, look at D. I know it's a right triangle, but go from D down here, mark that as a midpoint, and connect it. Go from E to the midpoint. So this might not be exactly in the center, but I'm telling you it's a midpoint because I marked it. And then there's one more from F to the opposite side. I think that's the best way to do it. Mark the piece you're at and then mark the opposite side. And then here I'm showing these are congruent. Okay, and so they have that point in the middle. All right, did anyone get to try the back? No? Okay, so let's do these 2 problems on the back. I'll put it back up if anyone needs it. All right, so it tells you that HS is an angle bisector. All right, so the first thing I need to do is draw a triangle. You can make it look any way you want. I'm doing this. But it does matter where I label the H, because I want H to go with S. So I'll go H, a G here, and an I. And so wherever H is going to connect to S. Now, if I want an angle bisector, I'm going to split this angle in half. So it doesn't matter where it hits the side. It matters that my angles are marked congruent. That is your angle bisector. That's all I had to do. And it says that S is between G and I. And that makes sense. So an angle bisector splits an angle in half. That's all I know, guys. I don't know what kind of angle this is. I don't know that these are congruent. That's all I know is that these angles are equal. Okay, now the next one has a couple things on it. So first of all, I need to draw a triangle NRW, but it's a right triangle. The right angle is at N. Okay, so here's my right triangle. And my right angle is N. So wherever you put your right angle, label it N. What is it, NRW? NRW. Okay, so that's done. Now it says NX is a median. I think I need to draw a better triangle. I think this is going to be hard. Draw a triangle that has a short side and a long side, because I think this will make it easier to see. We're going to redraw our triangle. This was hard to make it right on your own. Okay, I can make NX a median. I don't think that's hard at all, guys. So NX is a median. So go from N to the opposite looking midpoint. That's my median line, okay? Median, I did that in green. Now, this is what I think was a little confusing. The perpendicular bisector of WR. Okay, a perpendicular bisector splits a segment in half and makes a 90-degree angle. It does not have to go to here. So I need to make from this midpoint, what was that midpoint, X? I need to make a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to take my straight edge. I'm going to try to line it up. Here we go. So it would continue my triangle. And this would be my perpendicular bisector. And what is it? W. All right, so I think the median was easy. Like I can see a median here. And I think what's hard is if I do this one, the median also looks like the perpendicular bisector, but it could also look like this. So that was a little bit more difficult.